Ege Ekonomik Forum'un ikinci gününe hoş geldiniz değerli
Dear
izleyenler.
participants, welcome to the second days of the Aegean Economic Forum. With the cooperation of Aegean Economy Development Foundation and Uzganji Group and the support of Izmir Metropolitan Municipality, with the strategic partnership of Izmir Chamber of Commerce, Aegean Exporters Associations ISDOA, and the session sponsorship of Izmir Industrials and Businessmen Association, Izmir Commodity Exchange, Aegean Industrialists and Businessmen Association, with the session sponsorship again by the Union of Chambers and Tradesmen and Craftsmen of Izmir, the main sponsorship of Çimentaş Group, Aegean Region Chamber of Industry, Aegean Young Businessmen Association, Aegean Free Zone founder and operator, Spring Velo Turkey, with the support of Zordi. And you right away that the session has simultaneous interpretation, and our guests who want to listen to the broadcast entirely in English can switch to the YouTube channel of the Aegean Economic Forum. Welcome to the second date and third session of the fifth Aegean Economic Forum conference. Dear viewers, first of all, I would like to share with you today's program. The session from the linear economy to the circular economy will begin shortly. And at 3 o'clock, we'll be with you with a session called Business Models Changing Direction with Digitalization. And will be hosted by the firm's strategic partner, Izmir Chamber of Commerce. And for the program details of the conference, which will last for 5 days, don't forget to follow the Aegean Economic Forum's social media links. At the same time, you can always access both the live links and the program at www.economyforum.com. Dear participants and guests, today's first session is from linear economy to circular economy. Before I start the session, I would like to remind you that you can send your comments and questions by using the hashtag AEF 2021 throughout the session. And you can also ask your questions and give your comments on Dünya newspaper, which you are watching from YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter channels. We welcome your questions and comments. Now, I would like to invite you, the moderator, Ms. Melda Çele, who is from the Turkish Small and Medium Enterprises Development Organization, Izmir Director, Mr. Laurent Debrou from the World Bank, leader of the Turkish Sustainable Development Program, Ms. Ebru Dildar Eden, and the chairman of the board for Sustainable Development Association, Şükrü Ünlütürk, chairman of the board of İş Dünyası Platform, and Mehmet Ürek and Anne Valentor from Leeds University. Thank you very much and welcome all. So, many stakeholders are here together in this very distinguished program from linear economy to circular economy. And I would like to thank each and every party who has been, who is here with us. While we're planning this program, we first of all would like to start, we're going to ask the question why, and we're going to take different opinions of our panelists. And in the last part, we will receive questions from your side and comments as well. And on the other hand, distinguished participants, we briefly have announced our speakers, our panelists, and now the first question is going to be delivered to Dr. Anne Valenturf. So she has been working for years and is an academician dealing with circular economy, and is also an facilitator of the circular economy in England. And how would you actually regard circular economy from your point of view? Do you think that circular economy is an end or is it a process? And what can we actually benefit from it, and what can we succeed? I leave the floor to you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me here this morning. Really appreciate very much your invitation. So sure, let me answer the question. So what is a circular economy? So we can skip this because you have kindly introduced me already. So thank you very much. So yes, in the last years, I have been coordinating the Resource Recovery from Waste program, which was a strategic investment in the UK to deliver radical change in resource major projects and lots of smaller projects that were delivered in various tranches. And basically what we did was involve stakeholders throughout the research process. So we developed the research together with stakeholders, then we delivered it in partnership, and then we embedded the solutions into practice to really make sure that we could make an impact in implementing a circular economy. And then we evaluate, okay, where are we now and what do we have to do next? And then we went through another cycle and so on. So we engage stakeholders for reasons for that, but let me take you through it. So first of all, there was a significant group of stakeholders that still consider circular economy as, you know, they solve the waste problem by basically incinerating what we can't use anymore. So they solve the close the loop, so to speak, of the waste cycle in the economy with energy from waste. So that's not really circular at all, because at that moment we lose the tech. So the next level up is that there's stakeholders who define circular economy in terms of recovering resources. So they equal it to recycling. And this is where most stakeholders in the UK think where we're heading now. But there's a problem with recycling, because recycling is very energy intensive. It can also be water intensive. Often we lose quality of resources along the cycle. So often we are not actually recycling, we're downcycling in the economy. So we still lose materials and we lose quality of materials. So the realization was that we have to go further. So we have to go towards a circular economy in which we repair more, remanufacturing. And then eventually, if we can't do any of those things, then yes, we have to recycle. And sometimes we also have to incinerate wastes as well. So there's that whole spectrum of ideas about what a circular economy is. And they also have different potential for sustainable development. So circular economy community in academia, we can also see that there's in the last years this split happening between those that are more sort of reformative, who don't think that radical changes to production consumption patterns are necessary, who basically say we have to just make more efficient use of resources with the help of technologies. So they don't really think that radical economic change is needed. And then on the other hand, there's those who believe that for sustainability, and I'm one of them, that for sustainability, we have to very radically reduce the average material use per person. So we really have to transform the economy for that. We have to see behavior changes in addition to technological innovation. So it's really the next step up. And that's what we see happening in a circular economy research at the moment. The opposite of the linear take, make, use, and dispose economy. Out of all of the hundreds of definitions that there are of circular economy, they only have one thing in common, and that is that they all aim to make better use of components and materials waste. And we have to optimize the environmental and the social and the technical and economic values of all of our materials and products throughout their consecutive life cycles. And that then can deliver various, act upon various values that we consider important in a sustainable circular economy. So a sustainable circular economy, in my view, has to improve social well-being, it has to improve environmental quality, and has to at least maintain benefits. These are slightly outdated statistics, I will admit. There are better ones that have been published, for example, by Circular Economy quite recently. But a sustainable circular economy can deliver very substantial jobs. For example, in the EU, it's been estimated that at least it could deliver 8 million jobs. It's essential for carbon reductions. And also it can create new business opportunities, which are also, of course, really important drivers for companies to get on board with this.
Are different levels where we can actually create that economy. And thank you very much, Bey Şükrü Ünlütürk. He's a president of Business for Goals. And we are talking that generation. Can you please briefly explain it? Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be here with you. It's so wonderful. With the first definition of sustainability, maybe we can go a little bit more step by step. Because, you know, by giving attention to the needs of next generation, and we need to And interestingly, there is an ongoing debate about this. What does the utilization of the resources to be used properly mean? And I have reached to certain sources should not exceed these sources to be recreated. So on the other hand, when the resources that cannot be renewed should not exceed the alternatives to be should not exceed the speed of the alternatives that are going to be recreated. So today, the recreation of the sources, basically to say. And on the other hand, the air pollution and environment pollution is regarded a similar way. So here on the scheme, on this table, we can see a little bit more on how much is left for us, how much do we consume, and what do the existing sources help us with the reserves that we know. And these are the existing reserves. These are not there are no included new reserves in it. But in the last 30 years, with the development of technology, the feasible resources, and particularly in these 12 raw materials, are, as far as we can understand, is available. And then in the last 20 years, it became more expensive to take them out and to find them. Of course, there are many more different resources that are going to be explored, but this is a very important table. Even though we just see what we have at hand, the table is from the Security of Supply and Scarcity of Raw Materials Commission. That is a table that I received from that. They are called a CRM. Critically, there are 12 raw materials that they have chosen, because these raw materials, the supply of these raw materials are rare. And that is also an issue of security. This is the reason why such a table has been prepared. As you can see, there are 12 critical raw materials, and 4 of them is about energy, and 4 of them are about metals used in renewable energy solutions, and the other 4 are other industrial metals, which are regarded as important. And in order to read the table properly, I would like to take your attention to this. For instance, let's take a look to oil. And as we go further to the years, there is a very bold line, then a thin line. So it seems likely to be that they made the table as such. If we continue to produce with the speed that we have today, because the production is still ongoing in the world, we are talking about the total production, then it seems likely to be in 2045, the existing oil consumption, it can actually go a little bit further to 2050. It can pass a little bit 2050. As for coal, gas, and uranium, again, the 2050, I would like to take your attention to 2050. We are going to actually use our existing sources. So that means the next generation will not be able to actually produce as we have in the past. That is the reason why when we look at the metals used in renewable energy solutions, antimony, lead, lead, indium, and rare earth materials, within them, just rare earth materials, we can see a little bit of a proper situation, but in the other industrial metals, if we take a look to zinc, silver, gold, and copper, again, it seems likely that it is going to end. Our resources are going to end by the year 2040. Ursula von Leyen, as Mayor has made an opening speech on 2019 in the launching of the Green Deal. He said that we are using 1.6 volts more than we normally have to use. And the scientists say similar things, that saying that we are using our resources 2 volts more each year. But this table, this scheme, most probably can strikingly show you how much we use these resources and how much we should use, and we need to tackle upon the ones that are critical for, and we need to think about this for the next generation. This is a table where we can understand where we are for the time being. Of course, the circular economy, as the previous speaker, Ms. Fellentorfer, said, the sources have to be used in a proper way. We need to optimize their utilization, and again we need to recover it and use it once again. So that is another question for the time being, but we are not thinking about the next generation as we are using the sources that we have now at hand. Thank you very much, Mr. Şükrü. And I would like to make a short addition as well. You are following each year indeed. Annual source utilization is ending on July. We are actually stealing from the next year. And Mr. Şükrü was talking about the consumption and creation speed, the balance between it. And he was talking also a little bit about circular economy. And thank you, the chair of the Business Council for Sustainable Development Turkey. And I would like to take her opinion. Private institutions have been talking about what they were talking about the conference of in Glasgow. Thank you very much, Melda, and it's great to be with you. Different opinions, different information from different people, and it inspires us, and that is the reason why it's always great to be here. And yes, last year in COP26, and this year it's still ongoing actually in Glasgow. The conference is ongoing, and I would is estimated to get even when we come to 2030. It seems likely to be the Earth is going to get warmer by 2 degrees Celsius. And on the other hand, we also did have another reference. The more we pass 1.5 degrees, there will be great risks. The more we take actions about this, the more we can give benefit to our world. So right now, Celsius, can we foresee it? No, unfortunately, we can't. And that is the reason why we need to have binding decisions, very serious binding decisions. In the United Nations Climate Change Conference, since 2015, excuse me, has achieved. This is what we had seen. That was an opportunity for us. And on the other hand, in the report that has been published, and these data, and with the existing carbon emission, could have a more assertive. We need to have more assertive decisions to give, and we need to move immediately. COP26, on the other hand, seems likely to be the beginning of good things. Actually, there are many different reports. It's said that if the country's emission decrease commitments can be achieved, we can have the possibility to limit it by 1.8 degrees. That is very much important. We are always talking about best scenarios. The promises that have been expressed by the countries have to be abided by certain rules, and that has to be evaluated and involved. In more than 100 countries, by the year of 2030, there will be a great amount of the methane gas emission has to be exiting from from coal. Poland and England are involved in it. 40 countries are involved in it. Is it sufficient? No. The main consumers, the United States, China, and India is not there yet. But at least this is a beginning, and I suppose this is going to go further as such. Another issue here is we have been talking about until the year 2030 in order to overcome deforestation. Glasgow has enacted the leadership agreement on out of 45 countries. 450 institutions gave the commitment that they are going to decrease the greenhouse emission dollars around the globe. So I believe that they are going to have a great role in actually these environmental issues. And there's net finance Glasgow to be undertaken by many countries. So for some, unfortunately, the COP26 was not very satisfying, but at least we have put some certain short-term targets, and to follow that, it was very positive. And finally, innovation. Innovation is very much necessary, and hydrogen, energy utilization. So that are also certain hopes that I have. So circular economy, by the way, economy is very much important for the business world. And on the other hand, as for the exportation to the European Union, as you know, Turkey with the circular economy, if we abide by the rules of the circular economy, that will be an important issue for us. This has to be prominent. And as for all the studies and the workshop groups that has been prepared, 26, the Ministry of Environment, Mr. Mehmet Emin Birkeman, brings up the case that Turkey is going to handle a great deal of work in that manner and is going to develop itself and work on this matter in a very precise manner. Due to the pandemic, we couldn't actually,
and we are going to closely follow the developments. And Ebru has also mentioned us with the Green Deal, and thank you very much for what you have shared with us, Ebru. Now I'll give the floor. You evaluate circular economy in Turkey, and what are the challenges for implementing circular economy?
Elda, first of all, it is a real pleasure and an honor to be with you today. Let me start by highlighting the program, mostly focused on climate action and green transition in general. $4.5 billion for investment projects, management, agriculture, and land restoration and urban transformation. Go directly to actions aimed at reducing carbon emissions and over the past 3 years. Working mostly with public actors, and we have our sister organization, the International Fees, also to private investors. So this is the World Bank Group and economic benefits for the people of Turkey. There are 3 speakers in this session. The first one is the phasing out of waste and pollution. We could call it the efficiency. The second one and the third one is the sustainable management and regeneration of natural resources. I'm thinking of land in Turkey, like in other countries as well, requires combined action by the public and the private to leading a successful green transition. It's very important to see that 2053. So these are very important and positive developments. National Development Plan and the Economic Reform Program of last March, and also the Ministry of Trade's Zero Waste initiative several years ago under the leadership of the First Lady. So public strategies that will put my key message is that circular economy and green transition is good for business in global value chains and attract foreign investments towards a more circular economy, generate an added 30. The European projects that circular economy could increase the European GDP more, as a previous speaker highlighted, that the trade relations between Turkey and Europe are very important, with modest carbon border adjustment mechanism, which can be seen as a challenge for Turkish exports, increase its access to EU markets if Turkey is able to decarbonize quicker than its coupling production from material consumption and moving fast, advancing the circular economy agenda. All I wanted to flag is that the World Bank Group is fully committed to support Turkey's green transition, both climate, and we believe that the transition to circular economy is first good for business, second, good. So thank you very much for your attention.
Had the chance to listen to the perspective of the World Bank, and also they were very much lucky to party to Paris Agreement, and also circular economy could create more opportunities for private sector. See you in the second round, and I'll give the floor to Dr. Levent Aslan from COSGAP, and for circular economy to be. So what can you say for circular economy's benefits for the employers and private sector representatives? Thank you very much. Thank you so much for sharing our perspective about circular economy, and previous speakers have already mentioned some scientific developments with respect to circular economy, and I'll be also talking about its reflection over the business sector. And foremost, we can evaluate circular business models under 5 different titles. One of them is that circular business supply. So cycles should be closed here. Maybe we can also intensify the cycles. For instance, we can elongate the use of the materials, and we can also maybe decrease the need for needing different materials, and also we can decrease the material that is used on the plus something that we can do in our business supply models. In the past, we were having CDs or DVDs, but right now all those materials have been eliminated, and we can have those content on online platforms. And also there is this another mode, cycling. It's not recycling but downcycling, but I think we have to be making upcycling. We need to carry out these works for having upcycling, and I believe the key word for upcycling is creativity, especially in furniture and textile sectors. I believe we can have great recycling or recovery studies if we focus on upcycling. And there is also the industrial symbiosis. This is something we can talk about hours and hours, actually. This is something important. And as I've said it before, and there is another circular business model, which is the extension of the life cycles. It's not like the reproduction. And there is a new regulation about renewed products in our country, and it has been amended, by the way. Renewed products added value VAT was also reduced down to 1%, so we can see some incentives from the government side. So there is this sharing economy. 92% of the cars are parked in Europe, so most of the time they are parked just on the streets, and when cars are driven, just 1.5% are actually inside the car. As one by one, we don't need to use them. So maybe we can actually share rides, and sharing economy platforms could also be accelerating our efforts. And also I'd like to mention product service systems. In this part, maybe we can see different models, but we can also have details about result-oriented processes rather than selling a product. Maybe we can resource could be minimized, At the end, the use of the product is important, not the products itself. And I'd like to give you some examples from our sector. These are some of the implementation examples. As of this moment, the rental value is very well. We can also see slowly but surely new establishments are also received and they are renovated and they are sold. For instance, IKEA also does the same thing. They are committed to buy certain products from their consumers and makers of the products, but we need modular and better quality products. So at the end, we desire to have a longer and plastic chairs were created for children. This is from Belgium. So here at this very early age, we can also impose the importance of recycling to our kids. So, and it is not something that could be appreciated by big corporations, but it is something that could also be used for growth by SMEs as well. And design is the main. SMEs, entrepreneurs could have competitive advantage, and with the R&D and innovation, we know that startups could have more opportunities, and I'll show certain examples later on. And another thing that I can tell you that startups could capture more opportunities, and for governments and for international institutions, there are important incentives, and this could create enabling environment for the SMEs, and this is something again huge for SMEs. They could have some collaboration and cooperation opportunities with big corporations. And in my last minute, I'll just generate renewable oil with the plastic
Company was
tires,
on
as you can see.
2020 received a great amount of investment, and on the other hand, Marti, a company that is actually giving service to the transportation sector, and they have received $25 million of an investment. Another company, Waste Espresso, is actually creating up from the pipes. In 60 days, they are creating from the waste of the coffee of refreshment. So that is the reason why there are different types of actually opportunities that you can make in a circular economy. And I'm going to be talking about the cost gap relations in the second round. And yes, you have been talking about, and you are dealing with the Willow is a company which is at about 140 years old. So, Rani, and what was your institutional approach? Would you please impact, and also the Aegean Group for inviting me, and distinguished speakers and panels? I would like to greet you all with my greatest esteem. We are based on water in Dortmund, Germany, and we're still there as headquarters. Information for us. And Ms. Ebru gave us a lot of information about climate change and also COP26. It was very interesting. It was about limited resources. And my company and I am exploring water, whatever we do. So, or actually of that body. So if you're in a high-rise building, when there's a problem in hotels, in agriculture, and even when you are dealing with soil, when you're using the water as a natural asset, and we are making all of our investments upon it, and that is the reason why all of our production, our research and development, I am a little bit going to be talking about water, and I would like to answer your question accordingly to this. And there's also one thing that uses 2% is icy in the polar regions. There's only 1% left, and that 1% left, Kuwait has less water, and Canada has the greatest amount of water. Just take a look. The waters have ceased to work. For instance, let's say that Iski. Think about this. So everybody should now start to think of and find a solution to any kind of problem that might. These things that we're talking about climate change, we're talking about carbon emissions, and we are talking about targets, talking about Green Deal and Paris. If we exceed 2%, So if we are talking about sustainability, and if we talk about the consistency, if we talk about the coherency, and we need to protect water because water is distributed fairly, then that's the reason why we need to use pumps. For instance, in India today, just like every day to go to the toilet, then there are people who has to walk indeed mucilage. And the mucilage is the reason because the factories are not using the water properly and not using the waste. Once and for all of our technology and all of our investments that we are doing so far has to follow certain trends. And these are these trends, for instance, water and energy scarcity. And upon that, we put the product not going to be connected only to a digitalization or technology or Wi-Fi. It's not something like that. I'm not going to talk. Are consuming 10% of all the water, all of the electromagnet. We created a machine that is smart. So that nations has come and has audited our company. Is out of 50 in the world. So we have a great responsibilities in each and every one of us, all the employees and also directors, together with responsibility for us. While doing this, on the other hand, we say that, please use your water properly. So as we're doing this, we need to program our lives accordingly to that. And by the way, we fundamentally, and I am also a specialist of platforms, and I always talk about water and put everything into the core of our water. All of our strategies and actions definitely have to explain how important water is. So this was just an introductory speech that I wanted to make. So I'm going to leave a wonderful point of view from the sector. And so I do not regard themselves as a scooter company, but as a smart transportation company. The point of views, apart from the point of views, you need to understand also the challenges that occur, and you need to actually plan. I think that both of them are a little bit combined together, and Bilo is doing this for 140 years. And now we are going to do the second tour a little bit more faster. The circular economy. What do we need?
And what do we need for a successful circular economic model?
Okay, you know what? I will share the screen again. So here we go. I'll be quick. Right. So, I mean, for circular economy, it's of course essential to collaborate. And also what we see is that circular economy, because it has to happen quite fast, because we are in a climate crisis, we also have pressing water. We can't just leave it to the market. We can't just leave it to the private sector. We need to have the support from government as well. So government also has to create the conditions for a circular economy. So first of all, I should say, a bit of a disclaimer, because although our approach worked in the UK and we have, supported transformative change in the UK, example, and that's because your context is completely different. So you have different industries, you have different technologies in use, you have different political economic system from what may be possible in other countries. So when we're talking about transferring circular economy best practice, we also have to understand what worked, how it worked, why it worked, when and where. Interest of time very quickly here. So in the UK, what we did with resource recovery from waste is look for key intervention points. And for that, we basically did a whole series of different context analysis in different ways. So we identified what are these points. In the UK, really important was the regulatory change and the policy integration, but also and not just on the environmental factors, but really a balanced, holistic business case for circular economy that has to be made time and again, and to really speak about in those terms. It's about people, it is about environment, and also, yes, it's about business. But first and foremost, actually, it is about people. And I noticed that in the previous round that we haven't spoken very much about the long-term well-being of our our people. So I think it's really important to remember that when we are working on the subject. Okay. So we do a series of context analysis. We identify what are the key intervention points, and then we have to understand who are the actors in control to act upon those key intervention points and what kind of actions do they have to take. So we identify that, and then we put the transition process into action. So when we talk about transitions, it's important also to realize that it's constantly finding better. So we propose an antithesis, and then we're going to find a synthesis together. So in the UK, we had the thesis energy from waste, the antithesis that we have to use waste as resources. And then the synthesis is that we have to recycle more, essentially. We're going to recover much more resources. Then we realized, okay, actually, this is not going to get us to sustainability for the reasonably less stuff. So that is now what we're working on in the next program with the Transforming Foundation Industries Research and Innovation Hub. This is what we're driving for, to really enable that significant reduction in resource consumption. Okay, so this is kind of the process that we take stakeholders through. Now, circular economy, of course, is always implemented by a collective of stakeholders. You can't do it on your own. There's not one company, not one government, not one community group that can implement this. You have to do it together. Actions is required from across the society. So what we then do is sort of understand the spectrum of views on particular issues. So, for example, we can look at the spectrum of views on sense better, that we have to dematerialize. Then you have everything in between. And you can do that between different groups. So you see here sector A, sector B, communities, academia, government. So you can look, okay, within all of these different stakeholder types, where are the people on that spectrum? And then you can start to see, okay, so where is the overlap? So in every group, and that is then what I call, you create that window of opportunity to drive transformative change. And that is what we did in the UK. So there's different ways in which you can engage different stakeholders. So we involved stakeholders from the spectrum, from just informing them, so telling them about what we're doing, up to the whole, the top end of it, co-producing, co-deciding about solutions that are coming forward. If we want people to act, then they have to feel ownership, they have to feel commitment to the solutions that are being proposed. So right about what we're going to do next. So that's really important to create the willingness to enable change. So that was all I had in terms of presentation. I do have a few things also, because actually we are still increasing fossil fuel exploitation, even in the UK, hosting COP26. It's embarrassing. We are increasing fossil fuel extraction still. And actually none of our renewable energy technologies are designed in the EU, recycling 1 to 2% maximum, okay? This is not a good sustainable progression. We need to do better. And I don't share the optimism about you.
Çok teşekkürler.
Well, thank you very much. And individuals should also be asking. She has shared great points with us. And again, I'll give the floor going to support Turkey's green agenda. So what are you going to do to support Turkey in the future? Thank you very much.
Support to Turkey for the green transition and climate action in Turkey. Reaching their target of net zero emission by 2050 in all its client countries. Turkey was selected as part of the first batch for a climate change and development report. It will look at the impact of climate for government and society's consideration. We also towards reaching that 2053 target. So this is on the analytical side. On the investment side, we will continue and intensify, or made the point so convincingly. I will take the example of the water sector, where we are preparing a project so that would contribute to increasing water marine pollution in Turkey, following the mucilage crisis that we all saw. when it comes to circular economy. I think globally it's so if we could reduce that share of wastewater, it would be a win. We saw ravage the country several months ago, and forests could also be useful carbon sinks. It's not all rosy. We know that the green transition will generate benefits, but it will also people can be reskilled and can have opportunities to find new jobs. So we will also try and accompany Turkey in a just.
Çok teşekkürler.
Thank you very much. Collaborations.
İş sahipleri buluşur ve
So hopefully other business people can come up together and we can find more sustainable. You are making a lot of a collaboration in the sector. So what are the opportunities? Working together has become a little much more prominent. Those companies or those Mehmet Water, and I am going to share his opinions with different areas. Collaboration. I believe that this is going to increase in time. So we as SKD are exactly talking about these platforms to our members, and we parties in different platforms. So we have always been defending that we needed to do it previously, particularly in countries such as Turkey. Circular economy is becoming even more EDRD, inter-industrial materials market project is the project that we are doing. So this is a platform, and so that it can make an impact on the business world, we are paying a lot of effort. More than 200 members out of 13,000 tons that have been recovered. So let me give you an important sample. In Bilecik, and the production out of the used ones has been made. And with the study, that waste is reached and has also been decreased, and that also created a great benefit to the environment and economy. And again, together with EBRD, that the circular economy can be a great roadmap for us. And as for the Green Deal agreement, institutions are also involved to this project, and we want to increase it. And as for the platform, apart from the platform, one of March, we are going to make the first conference week for business life in circular. Many institutions from sector, private sector, public representatives were involved. There were 32 different sessions together with the European Union Green Deal action plan. We also regard the Roof organization, which is helping companies economy, and we have made a publication about this. This has been translated and has been delivered to the related parties. And on the other hand, due to the restrictions, real limitation, and at this STK Turkey and Global Business Turkey, and on 2019, we have companies themselves, so that what they are, in order to see what they are doing, and maybe actually working on different types of areas in which they're not using in which they're recycling, and with which they are actually using different types of aspects in order to create. Yes, thank you very much. With all the cooperation and collaboration of SAK, we can see some certain developments of in your field within this context. Would you please briefly explain us what you do? Yes, of course. Now, we had the Circular Economy Week, which has been made on 2020. And on the other hand, on the level of Europe, this was a first that Turkey has been made about circular economy. And all the interview documentations about this, and if you are interested in it, we can communicate with you and deliver it to you. That was a great sample of collaboration, and we are right now preparing ourselves for and to us, and another organization as well is now preparing themselves, and I call everybody to be part of this effort, because this is the actually meaning of platforms. Ebru has said we give very much significance to sharing all these issues, and we give importance to collaboration. Actually, a guide that we have published, and It seems that it is a guide of, which can be called as a roadmap for all the sectors. And I would like to give some information about the platform for the business world targets. As you know, the United Nations, UNDP, TUSIAD, and TÜRKONFET has founded on 2019 targets for the business world. The reason why is that we want to be bridging with a business life and sustainable developments. And we want to coordinate the sustainable developments in the business world, and we want to help the business world in order to design themselves accordingly to the sustainable developments. To see it and why they are representing more than 40,000 institutions, and UNDP for the first time has made a collaboration with the private sector in that manner. And the triggering point here is that on 2015, when the development goals have been announced, the United Nations has said at that period of time, so that these targets are realized, the private sector has to have a triggering role. They have a great amount of a role. So that is the reason why in the circular economy, we have made different types of studies working on. And with the announcement of the Green Deal after November, the business world has initiated a program of the transformation to green in the business world. And then it has been tackled upon how we can facilitate this transformation. In the whole industry, thousands of companies are becoming more coherent to the Green Deal, and upon that, we are taking attention on what to do for fighting against climate change. And we started to study in order to have a role in this. One is we have a Green Deal circular economy pillar. We have a working union of exporters. There are also other group stakeholders, which are the sectoral associations like packaging industrialists, steel industrialists, fruit beverages, and food industrialists, aluminium industrialists. Many sectoral associations are involved in this, and in this working group, we are actually sharing our opinions because they all know their unique needs of their own sector, and altogether, we try to find a roadmap on what they can do in their sector. So this platform regards ourselves as a think-do tank organization. That's why in circular economy, together with the professional organizations and also the industrialists, we try to actually reach to our to the parties of this. We are planning to give all the necessary needs that they are seeking for, such as scaling and evaluation. And as for circular economy, the NGOs, the institutions, and the professional organizations are invited to be part of this working group. And we have also a second working group, and this is about the carbon mechanism in the borders. The related available in this working group And as for the carbon arrangement in the borders, there are 5 basic sectors, as you know, which is regarded very important. We are dealing to actually support and find and support these sectors to find to guide them throughout the road of the carbon taxation. And later on, I'll give the floor to Mr. Mehmet, and then I'll close the day.
Developments about Paris Agreement, we can say that these are some opportunities for business world, especially SMEs. So this Green Deal is not something that we should be adopting ourselves just to be in line. Have also had some calls for renewable energy and green energy for green transformation and green transition. And again, we are conducting some projects for energy efficiency. And I believe that there to the SMEs, we said that this is not sufficient. And in the upcoming period, we will also open as one of our priorities as COSGAP, and we have already formed a working group, and that group will be SMEs and entrepreneurs for green growth, and very effectively we will be placing ourselves in this ecosystem, and we will be, of course, following you and following all the developments. Mehmet Bey, this has also stated we need a perception oriented on innovation. So what are your plans? How many minutes do I have? Because I guess it's just the last couple of minutes, as far as I know. Yes, you have 2.5 minutes. Okay, it's okay. I'm very much used to it as a professional investor, because bosses always tell us just perception does not start with the private sector. It could be started with the governments, and then it could be reflected over the companies, and then we see that on the people's level. So the important topics in the past used to be the skull and turf, mentioned that we haven't touched upon the people side of circular economy. Maybe in the future we are going to have the carbon passport, like you're going to be given international travel bans with your carbon passport. Everything is going to be humans, the people, and we have to be thinking of the future. And at the very basis of it, there comes digitalization. I don't want to go to details of digitalization, but naturally speaking, all the production, everything that we do is about digitalization. We have discussed 6 mega trends, and I totally agree with Laurent in this respect. It's not rosy, it's not very pink. This picture is not very bright, but if we just correct on human-centric ways, I believe that we're going to be in a better place. We have to take actions as of going to take. I believe we will have to give a better planet to our generations, next generations, and we have to start from this day on. I close the session. By the way, I want to say that we have also received some questions from the audience, but because our time has already given your answers. Yes, in this session, we have had this title from linear to circular economy, and thank you very much for being with us. Thank you so much. So thank you very much. I believe that it's been a great panel, and in the upcoming period, we will be having more collaborations that we have